I was inspired to write this speech as July 4th was approaching. There are numerous days in the year that all of us feel a sense of obligation, if not simple self-compellment, to acknowledge, if not celebrate. 4th of July being one of the many. Oftentimes what ends up happening is we start to lose sight of whatever the original purpose of acknowledging each and every one of these holidays is. All we ask is, do I have the day off? Are the kids off school? And then we focus on that. I wanted to present to you the possibility of creating your own personal holidays, non-obligatory, something that you are self-vested in, something that you are manifesting, something that is personal to you, so that you can increase the 22 days that many of us, because they are pre-printed on the calendar, the 22 days that many of us feel obligated to do something with and expand it much further, considering we have 365 options within each and every year. Let's first talk about the holidays that we all know of. So there's New Year's Eve and there's New Year's Day, which is the end of one year and the beginning of the other as far as a calendar. But my line of thinking is it's not a new year. Your birthday is a new year. And when you make a New Year's resolution, in 2022, I want to accomplish this by the end of the year, it makes actually more sense to say, as I approach my 40th year of existence, this is what I want to have accomplished by the time that year ends. New Year's Eve, as we see it now, it's drinking, making a point to stay awake, keeping a television nearby, and then making sure someone is accessible that you can either cheers or kiss. It seems very specifically functional, rather than it being its own personal holiday that you can enjoy at an individual level. We move on to Valentine's Day, and many of us still don't understand the true origin of Valentine's Day. What we know it to be is either very stressful if you're in a relationship, or very stressful if you're not in a relationship. As a matter of fact, if your New Year's resolution is anything, when you're single, it is simply to not be single within the 6 weeks you have from January 1st to February 14th. And if you miss that, well, your gym membership will suffer. It's obligatory in the sense that if you have someone that you love and care for, there is this fixation that there is some sort of gift or some sort of ritual that you should convey to them to make sure that they know on that specific day that they're loved and appreciated. Even if you would have gotten them something 2 weeks prior for no reason at all, or shared a wonderful meal with them. If it doesn't take place within the realm of February 14th, it seems almost meaningless. We move on, we have Mother's Day and Father's Day. Now this, again, makes very little sense to me as far as how we are currently celebrating it. You see, for Mother's Day, if you were lucky enough to have your mom in your life and alive, you reach out to her, at least with a phone call, perhaps a card, some flowers, to let her know that you are so grateful she is your mother. Father's Day, similar, less flowers, more golf apparel, or something of the sort. Now, here's what I don't understand. Why do you give your mother gifts on Mother's Day and your father gifts on Father's Day? The idea of being a mother or father to an individual, the idea of manifesting this human being into existence and being the primary influencer for a vast majority of the beginning of their life is such a beautiful relationship. It makes more sense to me that on Mother's Day, mothers would be giving their children gifts and fathers would be giving their children gifts on Father's Day. Because were it not for your children, you would not experience the beauty of parenthood. Now, your birthday, whenever that may be, as we've already conveyed, it would be a new year. There would be some sense of taking charge of the new year that is approaching for you, setting goals that are achievable and executable and attainable within the 365 days you have for your next birthday. But rather than receiving gifts on your birthday, you are celebrating your existence, the fact that you are blessed enough to be on this planet for yet another year. So it would make more sense that while you are also making goals for yourself for the upcoming year, you are giving your mother gifts and your father gifts. Because were it not for those two people, you wouldn't have anything to celebrate at all, you wouldn't exist. And rather than your friends giving you gifts, those people who make life worth living, the people who make your days memorable, those people should be acknowledged. You should be giving gifts to the people you care dearly for. We move on. We have Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving starts the trio of what I call stress central. You see, Thanksgiving, you find yourself traveling with 70% of other Americans to hurry to the table of someone you may or may not feel a close bond with, but you don't have to because they're family. So what ends up happening far too often is that all of these strangers linked only by blood and last name end up trying to share a meal and a conversation, which they find stressful and daunting because they were only doing it in that particular day in November. Why? Why does it have to take place when everyone else is trying to book a flight? And why does it have to start and end by 3 p.m.? I mean, who eats dinner at 2:30 on any other day except Thanksgiving Day? And we do this because either we care about football or we unfortunately are in a house where a majority of the people definitely care about football. Does it matter if your home team is playing? No, it doesn't. It's a screen. Just look on the screen. Don't worry about your aunt. Focus on the screen. Don't worry about the dishes. Let's just do this because while this is going on, we don't have to talk because we've already shared this. Extremely uncomfortable. Now, why doesn't this take place more often? This breaking of the bread, this camaraderie, because you should be just as nourished by the company you keep at the table as you are by the food you consume while sitting at it. Correct? So as I said, it's the trio. So we move on to Christmas, where there is this heightened sense that there should be gifts being adorned. Now, in an increasingly atheistic society, especially here in the US, I fail to understand why we are giving gifts to people on someone else's birthday who many people don't even acknowledge as existing in the first place. But that's beside the point. So Christmas comes, and we are to take the generosity that we somehow did not feel compelled to convey throughout the other 364 opportunities. We bombard ourselves with debt a month before our taxes are due. And we give these gifts to people, most of which were listed to us. We are, in fact, running errands and tracking down items that have no personal touch or caress associated with them. And we are retrieving. We are simply taking our funds, retrieving items, and hoping that somehow in this grand casino of giving, we end up coming out of it feeling some sense of gain, or at least not too much of a loss. In other words, if we buy 20 gifts, we hope we receive 20 at some point. Now, I get that there is some sort of purpose to all of this, but I fail to see why these things have to happen for everyone at the same exact time. It seems as inefficient as a vast majority of us trying to be on the same road between 5 and 6:30. We have seen the stress that causes, and thankfully, while the vast majority of Americans might work and drive within those hours, thankfully there are people who get out of work at 10, at 12, at 2. So it would make sense that when we are interacting with the people that we care for, that we would do so on all of the other 333 opportunities, rather than the 26 that are fixated and pre-printed on the calendar that many of us don't even own anymore. Now, I am not here to speak ill of the things that might matter to all of you for all your various reasons. But then we move into President's Day, Veterans Day, Independence Day, and Memorial Day. Now, we enjoy our freedoms every single day, but we acknowledge the people who have given their lives to sustain those freedoms 4 out of 365, and we do so by exploding things in the air. Now, anybody who has fought vigilantly in the military will tell you the last thing they want to hear is constant explosions. So the fact that we would explode things that sound similar to gunshots and gunfire as a way of acknowledging people traumatized by those very sounds seems a bit hypocritical, if not ridiculous. I'll move on. We have St. Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo, which it doesn't matter if you have any Mexican descent or Irish descent, you will find yourself drinking while wearing red, white, and green, or orange, white, and green. Now, here's what I would like to present to you. Forget the 22 conventional days. You don't have to feel compelled to show the person you care for, specifically in February, if you make a point to do so on the other days. You don't have to bombard yourself with lingering debt that sits with you for the entirety of the following year in December. You don't have to do that. If, when you see something that someone else deserves and would enjoy, simply procure whatever that item is and give it to them at your earliest opportunity. You don't have to explode things in the sky if you make a point to thank people when you see them in uniform. You don't have to buy an overpriced bouquet of flowers for your parents if you make a point to make them feel appreciated and involved in the life they worked so hard to provide you. And if you are going to celebrate a specific culture, try Amish Day. I think we could all benefit from Amish Day because our addiction to technology and the internet could do with a good 24 hours of living as though you were Amish where you don't use any electricity at all. There are numerous other ideas I have, but they are better suited for you to generate. Thank you.